The University of North Carolina, great school, I thought, has a professor that thinks the massacre was a really great thing, and he's not apologizing for it, and he still teaches there. Check this out, Will. On October 7th, Hamas terrorists crossed the border, invaded Israel. They killed 1,200 people. They took over 240 hostages, civilians mostly, back to Gaza. They raped and tortured and executed many on the way. And the very next day, October 8th, let me tell you what happened here at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. This is a very famous school. There's the administration building, students sitting on the steps. On the next day, the chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine posted this, quote, "It's our moral obligation to be in solidarity with the dispossession, no matter the pathway to liberation they choose, and this includes violence," meaning they're endorsing the slaughter of 1,200 people. And then a professor there, Professor Chebrolu, read this to his students in response to that post by SJP. Quote, "That's a true statement. I'm going to be honest. There's nothing wrong with what Students for Justice in Palestine said. In other words, he supported. And then he said, they, whoever they are, just don't want you to think about Palestinian kids and adults as human beings. Instead, they want you to think about your fellow students who care about justice, that we're just a bunch of little Hitlers." And then he said, and that includes Bernie effing Sanders, but he didn't say F. You know what he said. And he joined the unanimous Senate vote condemning the United States, condemning Israel, and endorsing the slaughter of 1,200 people. And then they went after Joe Biden, too. They talk about this Professor Chobrolo said that Israel is clearly a fascist state. They commit genocide under the guise of it's the only democracy in the Middle East. And basically, it's a bullshit factory. So I don't give an SHIT about international law or war crimes. The attack by Hamas was not senseless. There is context. So he went on and on and on and on, endorsing the slaughter. Guess what? That professor still has a syllabus posted, and he's going to be teaching 2 classes at the University of North Carolina in the spring. Apparently, his views are the views of the University of North Carolina. How would you feel if your kids were going there? How would you feel if you were a North Carolina taxpayer?
I'd be highly upset. I would, if I had any children going there, I would say, look, I know you like the school. You probably have friends here, but you got to say bye-bye. Or you go get a job and pay for it yourself. I'm not going to give them another dime. I'm not going to help them at all. And I'm telling you, these people, there's a lot of wealthy people that's pouring money into these colleges, these universities. They're going to start pulling their money. And that's part of the reason why some of the colleges and universities have banned all protests 100%, which is really interesting because colleges and universities, they're supposed to be the beginning beacon of free speech, being able to exercise, protesting. And what disturbs me the most is not only are they banning the pro-Hamas Palestinian terrorist supporters, but they're banning Israelis from having events too, which the people who support Israel, they're just the opposite, Barry. They're not being violent. They're not even inciting violence. They're not calling for violence. But because the pro-Hamas Palestinian terror supporters, they want violence, they're calling for violence, and they'll go out and hurt any Jewish person they can, especially if they can get away with it. Well, we'll just ban all of it altogether because at this point it's all violent. And they say that anyone Jewish or anyone that's supporting Israel, Barry, walking around with Israeli flag or supporting Israel, well, you're inciting violence because you're supporting Israel because they're doing genocide.